Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is SASS, and today we are talking about the newest update for Path of Exile to the upcoming plans for patch 0.2.1. That's right, we're finally out of the quagmire that was 0.2.0, all of the small changes that we've seen coming. Obviously, GGG has done a great job so far of adjusting things as we've come along, but they've got some big plans here for 0.2.1. We will have another video for that when the actual patch notes come out for it, but I figured I would drop this in today and we'd take a look at what they have planned, the upcoming patch. I've heard that it is some massive changes, so let's cross our fingers and hope that they do have some big stuff coming for us. Of course, if you'd like to follow along, I do have the forum patch notes linked down in the description. As always, you can click on those and follow as we read through here and I give my opinion on them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to stay up to date on all the Path of Exile 2 news coming in the future. And don't forget to follow us over on Twitch. We've got some really cool events and stuff coming up over the next little while. And hop into the Discord if you'd like to hang out with me, chat about Path of Exile 2, and stay up to date on everything coming to the channels. Of course, all of our support links are down in the description below. And without further ado, let's just dive on in. Let's see what's changed. Alrighty, here we are. Upcoming plans for patch 0.2.1. We are continuing to work on improvements for Path of Exile 2. Patch 0.2.1 is in active development and we're aiming to deploy it at the end of next week. Find out more about the improvements that this patch contains below. Starting off with the endgame rewards. When setting up the frequency of encounters and rewards for Path of Exile 2, we have decided how many maps players will have to do in order to get them. After extensive playtesting, we now believe that we overshot this number pretty substantially. They're not wrong there. I played, I think, about 20 hours worth of endgame, and good lord, does it ever take a long time to kind of grind through. I still have not been able to take on the Arbiter Ash, which is kind of frustrating. I was really hoping to be able to get into that before the end of 0.2.0, but maybe I'll be able to before the end of the week here. In 0.2.0G, we improved the baseline experience of getting rewards for monsters and chests, but we still feel like you don't get enough of those exciting spike moments when something very powerful or valuable drops. I agree. They did some really good work with 0.2.0G. I've noticed a massive difference in the amount of loot and the quality of loot that you're getting. I'm actually got a video coming up pretty soon here that is all about my solo self-found run that I did with my Huntress, where I played through on solo self-found through 0.2.0F and 0.2.0G. So the last two updates have been the timeline that I've been playing my solo self-found run, and I've noticed a massive difference between F and G. There's just been a huge boost. There are actually some very cool items to find, but you won't ever find them because they are incredibly rare. This is true. I think I have a total of 11 or 12. I think I've got 12 unique items right now, and many of them I can't really use because they're not useful for my Huntress. But only having 12 uniques as I'm coming into Act 2 of Cruel is not terrible. Like, it's cool that I found a couple of uniques when before I found like 2 or 3. So it has improved drastically, but still not quite enough to make me feel like, oh wow, it was worth it to play through this whole campaign twice. So really nice to see that they're going to be doing some changes there. One of the major focuses of 0.2.1 is making chase items more common, but also adding more chase items to find. This is great. Love to hear this. They need to add more unique items. They need to have as much variety as possible for you to find when it comes to these really cool items. There are some very awesome unique weapons and items stuff out there, but they're just so hard to find because they're so rare that it kind of takes away from that excitement when you do find one. Like, I found a really cool maul the other day that I was like, oh wow, cool, I got a unique item finally. Oh, it's a maul, which is nice for when I finally decide to play my warrior. But on solo self-found with my Huntress, it's like, well, I guess I'll just throw that in the box and it'll just sit there until I finally get around to transferring over to Trade League, the end of my run. All right, next up is specifically unique items. In 0.2.1, we are going to be significantly improving both the drop rates of incredibly rare unique items we already have, as well as adding a bunch of new and exciting and chase uniques that will take your builds to new heights. We are also buffing some of the rarer uniques that were intended to be chase but didn't live up to that standard. You should see significantly more chase uniques than before, and we'll be doing a post showing some of the new uniques next week. This is great. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I cannot be happier about finding more unique items and cooler unique items. So nothing wrong with that. 10 out of 10. Good job, GGG. All right, crafting socketables. One of the issues that we have with socketable crafting system at the moment is that by the time you get to the end game, there isn't really anything new or exciting to find the socket in your gear. Resistant attributes are great to help with solving problems in the early game, but in the end game, ideally you should be swapping all of these out for more interesting and powerful mods. I agree. As useful as some of the runes and stuff are, there's really just not a lot of variety there. I honestly just find myself mainly socketing things like iron runes to get extra energy shield and extra physical damage on my weapons. I think the only other rune that I really find useful is obviously the resistances when you need to just bump up a specific resistance. The only other thing that I've really used is the life leech. So other than that, really the runes have been kind of pointless for me. In 0.2.1, we are adding 22 new runes. Holy crap. 14 new soul cores and 7 new talismans. These cover a full spectrum from being powerful to insane, but are rare to find. Oh. You will certainly want to use them over the normal base set of socketables. This is awesome. Heck yeah, this is something that I actually talked about in my last video, that crafting is just, it's not quite there yet. They still need to do some work on it. I was hoping that they would add some new orbs of some kind to give us a little bit more control on some of the modifiers that we can add to weapons. But the fact that we're getting 22 new runes is huge. That's a pretty massive upgrade. I'm hoping that means that we're getting new modifiers for runes and not just better versions of, like, you know, the ash rune or something like that, or desert rune, I think it is. Like, you know, oh, do a certain amount of fire damage. Like if they're just adding another level to do more fire damage, I don't think that's going to be as exciting. But if they decided to take a bunch of the modifiers that you can find on weapons and gear and turn those into runes, I think that's a really, really nice addition. Of course, 14 new soul cores is really cool. I managed to find one already on my Huntress run. It ended up giving me like 7% chaos resistance, which is really, really helpful so far. And of course, 7 new talismans. I've only found a few of these talismans. So the fact that we're getting 7 new ones, that's really, really cool. Obviously, hoping that means that the old talismans and soul cores are going to be a little less rare than usual. But if they're still just as rare as they are now, especially the talismans when they drop from the Esmeri wisps, it's cool. But if you can't ever find this stuff, then you can only do so much. Next up is Ritual. Ritual also suffered from us pitching the chase rewards to rare as well. We're making the rarer omens from Ritual more common. Very nice. You'll see the same number of omens, but they have a significantly higher probability of being the rare, more exciting ones. Oh, so they're not increasing the drop rate, but they're increasing the drop quality. Yes, that's fine. Obviously, omens are pretty strong, so they are supposed to be something that is quite rare to find, but hopefully not too rare, as always. All right, corrupted essences. While we're at it, we'll also be increasing the commonality of getting corrupted essences when using Val orbs on monsters trapped in essences by approximately 6 times. Wow. That must have been extremely low if they're increasing it by 6 times. This is really great to see. I have used a couple of Val orbs here and there on some monster essences. Never gotten a corrupted essence, so pretty cool that that's going to be a higher drop rate for those. Next up is Rogue Exiles. Rogue Exiles just didn't have enough unique items, so we are increasing the frequency that Rogue Exiles have and thus drop unique items by approximately 3 times. This is awesome. I've fought multiple Rogue Exiles already on my Huntress run, and I've never gotten a rare item from them. I've gotten a couple of rares that were like cool, but I've never gotten anything unique. So the fact that unique items are going to show up on the rare exiles more, that's great. The rogue exiles are an awesome addition. I really enjoy that feature. It's something that's exciting when it does happen. You know, you're running through a map or whatever. Like I think I've met 3 so far. 1 right at the end of Act 3, and then 2 in Cruel Act 1 so far. And all of the battles that I've done against them have been really exciting. It's been fairly challenging. I've definitely had to work hard to defeat them, but the rewards, again, are just like no different than fighting a rare monster. So the fact that we're going to get some more unique drops from those, definitely a positive for sure. And the boss in the Twisted Domain was pretty valuable, but as an endgame area, the rest of it was pretty underwhelming compared to the other content you were doing at the time. So I believe that this is the Zesh battle. Pinnacle content shouldn't be giving less rewards than the dozens of maps required to gain access to it. But yeah, so this is Zesh. To start with, we have substantially increased the number of rare monsters that spawn during the domain. Previously, there would be often no rare monsters at all. In addition, we have changed the balance of quantity and rarity that monsters in the domain have. This will mean that the large drop of items that occurs right before the boss fight should now be way more valuable than before. Great to hear. I haven't had a chance to check out Twisted Domain yet, but I have heard a couple of people have gotten there and gotten to try it out. Very exciting. Obviously, anything that boosts your rewards in this game, it's an ARPG, right? The whole point of ARPG is to collect loot and to find cool stuff. So if we're going to get more cool stuff and higher valuable stuff, I'm happy. You're making me a happy person, GGT. We also now guarantee that rare breach rings in the resulting drop, so you should come away with at least a decent chance of some powerful items. Very cool. We also guarantee some rare breach rings. That's pretty awesome. Very nice. So at the very least, even if you don't roll very well on those rare monsters and end up getting something cool, you're guaranteed to get a breach ring now. That's pretty awesome. Next up is the Expedition logbooks. One thing that makes logbooks unrewarding is the fact that at very high levels, they have so few monsters spawning that they often end up yielding significantly less items than just a regular endgame map. This is reflected in the fact that a low level 90s, you could do an entire level 80, the highest possible level, logbook, and not even gain 1% of a level of experience. We're doing a pass on the amount of monsters spawning to intensify the combat, but focus on very high level ones to better match the consistency of other endgame content. Again, just making it that much more worth it for you to actually engage with these endgame systems. Gaining 1% of a level, that just sounds so painful to grind through a map and then end up getting basically nothing for experience, especially if you can lose experience when you die. So yeah, good to see that they're going to be adjusting those. Now, the first change is that we're increasing the distance between explosives and the radius of explosives. This will allow you to ultimately uncover more monsters and rewards. On top of this, we're also increasing the number of monsters spawned to be more reflective of what an endgame map has in it. Additionally, we're also making changes to the specific features found in each of the different logbook areas. All right, really cool. The Lush Isle area currently has Garul Totem Remnants that cause the monsters to give substantially increased experience. It also has fenced off areas where you can explode the fence and gain access to totems that drop a lot of currency items, and on the breaches there are small corruption pustules that drop uncut skill gems. Neat. In order to improve this area, we are increasing the number of remnants, especially the experienced ones. Additionally, we will generate more of the fenced off sections, and a larger chance to the pustules will be made, where destroying any of them will cause all monsters unearthed afterwards to spawn corruption monsters on death, similar to those in the corrupted areas on the Atlas. Okay. Combined with the base changes to drastically increase the number of base monsters spawned during logbooks, it is intended that Lush Isle provides a very good source of experience. Nice. So this will be a map that you'll be able to hopefully be able to grind a few times, get some of those levels that people have obviously been complaining already, that really hard to gain levels, especially when you get into the like high 80s, high 90s. When you get to that point, it just takes such a long time to level up. So fact that you'll be able to run the Lush Isle and get a good chunk of experience out of it. Very nice to see. The Frigid Bluffs logbook area is an icy tundra with Vol architecture, many Vol monsters and Vol remnants frozen in time. Aside from the traditional expedition monsters and chests, you can also explode these Vol objects free. The problem is these are relatively underwhelming. There are a few monsters and they are not any more rewarding than normal expedition monsters. And on top of that, the remnants just cause the monster drops to be corrupted, which is arguably a downside than otherwise. And I don't know why, and honestly, this is something that just kind of confused me right from the start. I don't know why GGG decided to do corrupted items. Like, I'm not sure if it was meant to be something cool where you might find a really fancy rare that was already corrupted and had like 3 slots on it or something like that, so you would get that bonus guaranteed from a corrupt, that you'd normally get from Valorb. But the fact that you would have like magic items and just simple rares dropping that are corrupted, they're basically useless because you can't change them, you can't edit them. All you can do is just slap some runes into them. So the fact that they're just kind of slowly removing corrupted items, I'm kind of happy with that. Like, corrupted items to begin with, like they already removed I think it was like the totems or temples, whatever it was. There was like this totem thing, you could click it and then it would give you a buff that would make all of the items that dropped until it ran out corrupted, which was like, why would you do that? Like, you're just punishing me for clicking this thing. And they already removed that. So I think that what they had planned for corrupted items was, hopefully, I'm hoping that what they had planned for it was like, oh, this is gonna be really cool. And then in practice, when it actually came out, we were like, oh wow, this is actually super detrimental. Like, let's just scrap this idea completely, which nothing wrong with that, right? That's the whole point of early access, is to try new things, see how they're going to be reacted to, see how it actually plays in game, and get feedback from us. And obviously corrupted items just did not work. It's not cool. It's something that we should choose to do and take a chance on if we really want to, with a Valorb or something like that. So yeah, nice to see that they're removing those systems that take away that choice. Now we're making a couple changes here. On top of the Val monsters, we're now going to have some Val bosses frozen in time too. Oh, cool. These are standalone map bosses that can be broken out and fought. All the remnant modifiers will apply to them as normal. The Val remnants that caused items to drop corrupted are being reworked. Now they will generate 1 to 3 upsides and 1 to 3 downsides that normal remnants have. Think of them just as super remnant. Oh, okay, well, that's pretty cool. I like the boss battles, so more options to fight boss battles is fine with me. The Barren Atoll logbook is an atoll that sea travelers and fishermen have used to store their treasures and supplies. The area currently has crates filled with gold, strong boxes, and Essamite runes. The issue is that the crates drop far too little gold and there are far too few strong boxes and runes. After our changes, the crates are going to drop a significant amount more gold, and we're going to generate a lot more strong boxes, and by a lot I mean over 10 times as many, holy crap, of which could be unique strong boxes too. Really cool. The Essamite runes, aside from already adding a rarity to all subsequently unearthed monsters, will now drop 2 to 4 additional runes instead of the existing 1, so 4 times as many. Wow. Given we're adding some new chase rune drops, and this may prove to be a good source to get them. Very cool. All of these special features found in the specific logbook areas are also being added to the minimap. You can see where they are and plan well before starting to place your chain of explosives. Nice. Okay. But that's a pretty massive change. So they basically added, in this section here with the logbooks, they've added a bunch of ways to gain access to like more experience, cool items, rare runes as well, and then given you basically all the tools that you need to try and find them as well. This is a really nice change. I think this is going to make endgame worth grinding towards and then worth playing once you actually get there. Right, endgame content and variety improvements. A second main focus is that we're going to increase the variety of running endgame maps. Right now, did you know that if you were to generate 400,000 maps, that 150,000 of them would be Hidden Grotto? Oh my gosh. We are certainly sick of running that area and fighting the same boss on repeat. Definitely. The intention here is to normalize the frequency that different maps and thus boss fights appear on the Atlas. This will make things feel far less repetitive when playing the endgame, especially for many, many hours. Even in the small amount of hours that I've played, I have played a bunch of maps over and over and over again because they're just all in a line. I think there's a swamp map that I've played. I think I've played it like 6 or 7 times now, and I've only done like 20 or so maps in that little area that I've done with my mercenary. And the fact that I've played that swamp map so many times, I'm just like, there are more maps, right? Like there's like 4 or 5 different maps that I'm choosing from, right? So seeing that we're going to get a bunch more variety there, that is awesome to see. Citadel spawning has been adjusted. Now, whenever a citadel is generated on the Atlas, it also ensures that it generates the other 2 types of citadels near it. This will prevent cases we have been seeing where players would, due to the whims of random generation, get many of the same citadel one after another and never be able to fight the Arbiter of Ash, especially when not in a trade league. Yes, this is a complaint that I've seen pop up over and over again. People basically saying, I've never gotten to fight Arbiter because I just can't find that one citadel that I've been chasing for hours and hours and hours. I think it was Darth Microtransaction who originally said that I think he had played like 100 or 150 maps and still had not found his final citadel. I think that was during 0.1. So I know that they've made a few changes to like some of the citadel stuff through 0.2, but this is like a massive change that basically says like, hey, when your first one shows up, those other 2 that you're going to be chasing, they're going to be nearby. So it just kind of makes it that much easier to like grind your way into those different citadels and then get to the Arbiter of Ash just that much quicker, which is kind of the whole point, right? They want to push you through the maps, get those citadels, and then get to that final fight, and then obviously continue on from there. If you never reach Arbiter of Ash before like another patch comes out or something, that gotta feel bad. Both these changes to Atlas layouts won't apply to areas of the Atlas that you have already revealed. In order to get the improvements, you will need to explore further away into parts of the Atlas that haven't been generated yet. Okay, that kind of sucks. So if you're already in endgame, you're gonna have to keep on grinding until you can find a new citadel. However, I understand why they did that, because like they don't want to just reset your Atlas map on you and then you have to start all over again, especially if you're like very close to getting your last citadel or something like that. So I kind of understand it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, but the fact that we're getting these changes is a positive in and of itself, even if we do have to go and chase after them a little. Additionally, you can expect some other endgame improvements, such as reducing the danger of 2 of the ritual types that were just a ruckus of purple chaos explosions, and reducing the danger and increasing the telegraphing of the volatile plants monster modifier. Combined, these were responsible for over half of all player deaths in the endgame. I can also guarantee that probably counts for half of my deaths in my solo self-run through campaign as well. Multiple times I've come across rare monsters that have had that volatile plants modifier, and I've died to those stupid purple things over and over and over again. They are the bane of my existence, to the point where I used my only socketable that I had, my fancy socketable that I found, and it was like 7% chaos resistance. And I was like, yes, please slap that into my helmet right now, because I need some chaos resistance against these stupid volatile plants. Like, I would not feel bad if they decided to just grab volatile plants altogether, because they are very, very annoying. But if it's going to make it easier to like avoid them and make it a little more telegraphed, I'm okay with that. That's a good compromise. I can meet you in the middle on that. We are also lowering some of the more dangerous map modifiers like elemental penetration to be more in line with others, improving the rewards and visibility of omens in the Viridian Wildwood unique map, increasing the radius to open clasped hands in breaches, reducing the pack size of the bats that shotgun you with projectiles in the Twisted Domain, and reworking the curse maps mods to have counterplay. These are just some of the more isolated improvements coming. Wow, that was a lot. And considering I haven't made it that far into endgame, a bunch of that just kind of sounds like gobbledygook to me, but I'm assuming that all of that is a positive. Like the Atlas stuff, I understand. The Citadel stuff, I understand. I've been chasing Citadels, so I get that point. But the unique maps and stuff like that, obviously, like improving rewards, that kind of thing, always positives. Love to see it. So if it means that we can engage with these endgame systems a lot sooner and a lot quicker, and actually have a chance to defeat them and get some rewards from it, that's a positive in my books. Oh boy, here we go. Trial of the Sekimas, the bane of my existence. I joke, but the Trial of the Sekimas is very, very frustrating. So, well, let's see what they got in store for us. In the Trial of the Sekimas, we've adjusted the affliction that causes you to have no energy shield to instead have your energy shield. Thank you. Oh my god. This is for Chaos Inoculation builds, so that when they randomly get this affliction, the run isn't effectively over. Yes, exactly. I don't use Chaos Inoculation for that specific reason, because if for whatever reason, if you get a shield affliction, you're basically screwed. It's over. You're not going to be able to win because one hit's just going to kill you. This is a nice change. Cutting it in half, I think, is still really, really strong. Maybe too strong. They're probably going to cut that down to a quarter of your energy shield, just because these afflictions can stack. So if it halves your energy shield and then halves it again, you're going to be in some tough shape. But hopefully that's not the case. On top of this, we discovered a mistake with the chances of getting certain afflictions and boons. Specifically, there was one affliction, 2 minor boons, 1 major boon, and 1 pact that had 100 times the commonality they should have. Okay. This would have caused players to constantly be getting them as the first randomly generated outcome, and as these boons were in particular the weaker and more boring ones, it often would have made the runs less rewarding and interesting. Interesting. Okay. I totally understand that. Trial of the Sekimas is something that's going to need a lot of work, a lot of iteration as they go along. I like the idea of doing that for Ascendancy. I think it's a cool system. Trial of Chaos is really cool as well. They're neat, but Trial of the Sekimas is just way too punishing. I find that I can run through Chaos fairly easily for the most part. Like, it's still a challenge, but you have that exciting like boss battle at the end, whereas Sekimas is just like, it feels very grindy. And by the time you get to the boss battle, you're already like, your honor's knocked down a little bit. You know, you're at half honor or something like that. You're pretty much going in with like quote unquote half health, which feels bad as you're getting into it. And then the fact that like you've got afflictions and everything else you got to deal with, so plus modifiers, like it can get really heady. So nice to see those changes. All right, and my favorite quality of life and user experience changes. We did some notable quality of life improvements in 0.2.0H, but there are more coming. We have a huge improvement to searching on the passive tree when using keyboard and mouse. Now when you search for passives by typing in the text field, you can press enter to automatically find and go to that passive. If there are multiple passives found in your search, then continuing to press enter will cycle through them. Nice. That's really cool. Yeah, having to zoom out and then wait for the flashing node and trying to find that little node in all the hundreds of thousands of them. Kind of a pain in the ass, but this is going to be a nice change. So you can actually like jump to them. It also darkens the rest of the passive tree to help bring the searched nodes to the foreground, making them easier to see. Nice. Big positive. A huge request has been that we invert the display of tier X on items when using advanced item display. This is so that you can immediately identify if a modifier is the best it can be on an item. This is more for advanced and endgame players, but it's very important to be able to quickly assess the true power of an item or if it's an appropriate crafting base. We are swapping this back to work same way as Path of Exile 1. Very nice. See, that was something that never made sense to me. Having tier 1 be the lowest tier, and then I think it's tier 7. I think tier 7 is the highest right now. Yeah, I don't even know, because I've only ever found, I think I found like 1 or 2 items that had tier 7 on them. So I'm pretty sure that's the highest as of right now. So the fact that it's going to be flipped now and your tier 1 is always going to be the top, I think that's a really, really positive move. I get why they did it before. It's so that they could add stronger modifiers in the future and make them tier 8, tier 9, tier 10. You can keep adding and iterating that way, and you don't have to shift everything around with tiers. Obviously, this provides a little more work if they do start adding stuff in and those modifiers have to move around. But hey, that's the whole point. You're a game development team, right? You're going to have to put in some work. And if it makes it easier for the player to understand how modifiers and stuff work, then this is a huge positive change. And I understand why people were requesting it, because it does get frustrating sometimes being like, okay, is that the best modifier that I can get? Should I hold on to that item for like recombination later on? Or should I just like scrap it because there's a good chance that I'm going to find, you know, a tier 8 or a tier 9 or whatever, like whatever the higher tier might be of that modifier. On the Atlas, when you hover a map, it will separate the categories of modifiers displayed. You can more easily see where those modifiers are coming from. Specifically, you can now determine if they're from corrupted or cleansed influence in one category, and if they're from towers in another category. This will make it clearer when looking for specific modifiers like +1 level in corrupted influenced areas. Oh, okay, cool. Making it easier to figure out what exactly is on your maps. Nice little change there. There's also a performance improvement coming for optimizing the physics on monsters and NPCs across the game. This is making them significantly cheaper and will cause less CPU-bound bottlenecks on performance. This issue isn't prevalent everywhere, but is common in areas with lots of humans, such as the Faradun in Act 2 or Freythorn in Act 1. This is true. We'll continue to optimize these incrementally in every patch as we find all the suboptimal cases. This is a great, great change. Faradun especially, I noticed there's a lot of lag in that area. When you're fighting those guys, it gets insane if you get too many of them bundled up, to the point where I was pulling mobs, half a mob at a time, just so that I don't have to fight the entire section, because it was starting to bog down my PC. And like, I don't have like a crazy insane PC or anything like that. I'm just running an i7 with a 2070, but with my specs that I'm set at and my settings at like medium, I should be able to run through fairly comfortably. So to see more optimization in this route, that's really nice to see. There's nothing worse than having like a lag spike or something, or a bunch of jitter and not getting your roll in properly, and then you die, and it's like that feels bad. Dying because I wasn't reacting properly is one thing. Dying because I couldn't react properly because the game glitched, like that feels so much worse. Nice to see that they are focusing on optimization, because that is a big part of any game, and especially a game like this where timing and speed and everything is just so important. We've also added some improvements to the shop and cosmetics panel, including an equip now button when purchasing microtransactions, and adding a new skin slot on the cosmetics page for some future microtransactions that will replace your base character skin or model. Ooh, base character skin. Oh, does that mean we're getting gender choices in the future for microtransactions? I don't have to play a girl huntress. I could play a guy huntress. That's pretty cool. I might actually spend a couple of bucks if that's something that they actually offer. Interesting. All right, cool. Yeah, not as exciting. Microtransactions for me are just kind of meh. I just play the game for what it is. But if they do add something like that is one area that would be really neat. Right, in conclusion, that summarizes our 0.2.1 patch that we're hoping to deploy at the end of next week, but are keeping flexible as it might fall into the week afterwards. We'll keep you updated with further changes and post some specifics on uniques and socketables between now and then. Thank you very much. Well done, GGG. I gotta say, very impressive so far. Lots of great updates, some really good quality of life stuff. The optimization is a big one. They still need to do work on the server side, I think, to optimize their servers and whatnot. There's still been a ton of complaints about server issues and things like that. Fixing Trial of the Sekimas, especially with that energy shield issue, definitely a problem. Afflictions and boons, not as big of a change, but it's good to see that they are looking into it and not just saying, hey, that's what you get, deal with the trials. Definitely some good changes there. Some good end game changes as well, making citadels easier to find so that you can actually fight the Arbiter of Ash. Really, really cool. Lots of other little elements and stuff that they're changing. Obviously changing some of the unique maps and stuff as well. Tons and tons of bonuses to the expedition logbooks, changes to rogue exiles, twisted domain, corrupted. Like lots of really, really good changes. I like that we're focusing on items, rewards, and crafting. This is a big part of Path of Exile 2 that I think was lacking. It's getting there, but crafting especially is something that's very, very frustrating to do sometimes in PoE 2, to the point where I chase items that drop on the ground that are good because I do not want to have to deal with slapping orbs on things and randomly maybe getting something that works for me. Like when you do get that really good rare drop, like I've had moments where I've gotten it's like boots. For example, boots with movement speed are something that I'm always looking out for. I found a pair of boots the other day that was 25% bonus movement speed. I was so excited. I'd been running 15% and then finally 20%. I was like, I need that 25% in my life. Like my huntress needs that speed so badly that I can get away from danger as quick as possible because I'm kind of squishy. So I finally found these 25% movement speed boosts. I'm so excited. They only had, I think it was 3 or 4 modifiers on it. And I was like, oh, this sucks. Like this sucks so much. I was like, I need to use my exiles now. And hopefully I get to roll some decent bonuses to them. And I'll admit, I got lucky on one. I think I got like a 20% boost or 18% boost or something to, I think it was like cold resistance. So I was like, hey, that's great. Resistances are nice. I have no problem with that. The other one that I got was like a plus 21 to stun threshold, which not as exciting, right? So the fact that you do have to kind of gamble on those when you find a cool item like that, it doesn't really feel great. But if I can start tweaking and adjusting things a lot more with new runes and, new socketables and things like that, better soul cores, talismans, that kind of thing, we're going to find that stuff more and get better things more often. I think that's going to be a really positive feeling, because even if you do slap an orb on something and you're like, oh shit, that didn't really work out the way I wanted to, at least then you can use your fracture orbs and split up some of those modifiers, protect a few of them, replace the ones that you don't want a little bit easier, and then adjust that gear to where you need to with your socketables. So it's giving us more options to be able to quote unquote craft without having to use the random modifier of an orb. Again, just lots and lots of really nice changes, tons of positivity. Everything I've read here so far, this seems to be a step in the right direction. GGG is listening to us. They're listening to the feedback that's been sent in. They're listening to the complaints of the players, the places where we're seeing some friction, where we're not enjoying ourselves. And loot rewards has been the number one thing for me. The changes that they made in 0.2.0G were phenomenal. It completely changed the game for me. I went from, oh, okay, this game is fun. There needs to be more. In 0.2.0F, it was a fun game for the most part, but then you weren't getting the things that you wanted. Whereas in G, when they made those loot changes, it changed everything. Every box I was opening had rare items or magic items in it. Every rare monster that I was killing was dropping good stuff that I could either use or scrap down so that I can get more orbs. Like, I was constantly getting new items. And on top of that, I always found strong boxes, which was something that I never found on my first playthroughs. When I was playing at the start of 0.2.0, I never saw a strong box until right at the end when I started getting into endgame with my mercenary. And now that I've been playing Huntress on solo Southbound, I found so many of them, and I've gotten really good stuff from them as well. And using my orbs to upgrade the strong boxes and getting good modifiers off of that give me bonus stuff. More than once I've used an orb to upgrade it to rare and gotten a modifier that says contains one unique item. I'm like, holy crap, that's huge. Like that's how I got one of my unique rings, was by just I dropped an orb on this random strong box and it gave me a guaranteed unique item. Like, that feels good. That feels like spending and gambling and winning. Whereas before it was more along the lines of just finding one of these was like, oh great, but now I still gotta gamble. Whereas now I'm finding them so often that I feel more inclined to gamble. And the gamble feels worth it. Even if I don't get that guaranteed unique item, I may get something else. Maybe it adds a little more challenge to the game. Maybe it says, oh, now you're protected by extra rare monsters. Instead of me feeling like, oh shit, now I gotta fight more rare monsters and just get the same garbage crap loot. No, it actually feels good to fight those rare monsters now, because rare monsters drop rare items. So you're getting good stuff regardless. Even if you do get something that seems like a drawback, it ends up being a positive in the end. And I think that's like the key point to what they're trying to do here, especially in the 0.2.1, is basically saying like, hey guys, we hear you. We understand that the challenge is fun, but the rewards are shit. It's essentially what it is. It sounds mean, but it's true. For a while, the challenge was there. It was enjoyable to overcome that challenge, but that was basically all you got from it. It was a pat on the back. You didn't get paid. You didn't get that bag for beating that challenge. So the fact that they are adding even more ways to get better rewards is a positive in my books. I think GGG has what it takes to take this game into the stratosphere and make it really, really great. You know, it took years for Path of Exile 1 to get to where it is now. The game's been out for a really long time, and they just recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, got it to a place where people are really, really enjoying it. So I think we're just gonna have a little bit of patience, have a little bit of faith. They're moving in the right direction. They're making changes that people want. They're making positive changes that make the game more fun. So let's just keep it up, keep throwing in that feedback. Make sure you guys are staying positive. I'm really stoked for where this is going to go. I can't wait to try out 0.2.1. Hopefully it ends up being a really good update. And hopefully they keep adding in more of that optimization, because I know that that's something that's been a sour spot for a lot of people. The server optimization has not been great, especially in Europe. So hopefully they're going to keep working on that. I'd like to see 0.2.1a be an optimization patch. So GGG, if you're listening, make it a priority after you do these changes for 0.2.1. Focus on optimization. Make it so that the game can actually be played by everybody and not be a lag fest and a crash fest, because that hurts the game so much more of the game being unplayable rather than it just being unbalanced. But I think that's it for us today. Thank you for hanging out with me today, everyone. Thank you for watching and listening. What did you think of the upcoming plans for patch 0.2.1? Do you think that this is a big enough change for GGG moving into the next step of 0.2? Or do you think that there's still plenty more that they could do? Let me know down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you everyone in the Path of Exile 2 community and the PoE community as well. Many of you have recommended me to go back and play PoE. I plan to do a couple of runs on that and do some more updates and stuff as well for the upcoming patch that's coming to Path of Exile. So we're really excited to see that they are going to be getting some new content soon. Thank God, because they've been horribly neglected over there. I would love to see them get some new content as well. We're getting some good changes over here. Don't forget to mark your calendars. May 23rd, 2025. We've got a really cool event coming up over on the Twitch channel. So if you haven't followed us over there, make sure you head over to twitch.tv/SASS Entertainment and drop a follow. We've got a massive subathon that we're doing at 12 plus hours. We're going to be playing a Tainted Grail version 1.0 and just running through until the timer comes out. So if you guys would love to support the channel and support the work that I do, that's a great place to do it, is with a subscription over there. Make sure you come and check us out on May 23rd. We're going to have a lot of fun over there. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are looking for 500 subs by the end of the year. That is my goal this year. I'm really hoping that you guys can help us get there. It'd be absolutely amazing if we manage to do that. Of course, don't forget to pop over into the Discord. All the links are down in the description below if you want to check those out. And along with the patch notes, if you want to check that out for yourself. Once again, thank you all for watching. I've been SASS. This has been another Path of Exile 2 update. We will see you all next time. Happy hunting, survivors.